Now let's talk to Rabbi Cohen. What an inspiring message on endurance, Paul. Thank you for that. You know, you are a marathon runner. I know you've done the Chicago Marathon in the past. So you know, in terms of athletics and sports, what endurance is as a test of strength. But I've got to ask you personally, as you think back over your life, what's the most dramatic personal experience that you've had with endurance as a test of your own faith?
I think the time that I would like to share is the time when my third child was born, my daughter Anna. It was a very difficult delivery, and it was a time of incredible darkness, and I thought that I was going to lose Kathy. And hours in the hospital room wondering what was going to happen next and whether I would lose my life partner, whether she would be able to recover or not, and how I had already tried to play, how would I be able to move on, and assuming the worst, what would I be able to do? And in those moments, I felt that God was sending me, just like for Jacob, God was sending me little angels, messengers, doctors, nurses, members of my congregation, friends who would come by, and not that they gave magic words that helped me to feel better, but it was through their presence, through a simple touch on the arm, an embrace, simply sitting with me, gave me the strength to endure that time, which was for me a time of tremendous darkness.
And Paul, you've touched on this idea of endurance through community,
yes,
which I think is a wonderful thing. Oftentimes we think we have to grin and bear it ourselves as individuals. The Jewish people and the Jewish faith is certainly full of endurance. How do you address that on a regular basis with the temple and your faith community up there?
Well, I think that's a part of the answer is in the question itself. That is, when the Jewish community, when a particular community is feeling threatened or in crisis, being able to turn to one another is the way that we are able to derive strength, knowing that we're not in this alone, that we can turn to one another even as we turn to God. There's a story that I shared that actually at the end, oddly enough, of a wedding ceremony, when we break the glass at the end of the ceremony, and we're able to talk about the significance of this event. And I always connect it back to the breaking of the first set of tablets at Mount Sinai, when Moses has been away for 40 days and 40 nights, and the people feel completely abandoned and alone. They don't feel that Moses is ever going to return. They feel completely abandoned by God. And instead of turning to one another, they turn to the calf of gold. Moses comes down the mountain, sees them dancing and singing around this calf of gold, and out of frustration and anger, takes the tablets and throws them to the ground. They shatter into thousands of pieces. And the way I relate this to the wedding is to talk about how the breaking of the glass is an echo of that moment, because the Israelites from that moment forward understood that they had to dedicate their lives to strengthening the bonds of friendship and love between themselves in order to not only survive crisis, but also to enhance moments of joy. And I think that's been the message that we have carried forward through the generations, that when we are together, when we are united, we can survive most anything. We turn to each other, and together we turn to God.
I love your emphasis, reoccurring emphasis through your message and what you've shared now, about the presence of God in the midst of our pain and suffering. And your stories about Jacob, the two Jacobs, remind us that God is not a magician. God cannot prevent disasters or tragedies or death or loss, but God is not absent from them.
Right.
And so when you're talking about illness, and in the earlier video that we saw of Martha Foster and struggling with breast cancer and brain cancer and all the rest, what are the words that you tell your flock at Temple Jeremiah when they are facing serious illness?
Well, the responses are different based on how people are coming to me. What are the questions that are being asked? Sometimes people will ask, why is God doing this to me? Why am I suffering? I've been a good person. Why do I have cancer now? Why can't I have a child now? Why is God doing this to me? And I try to help them reframe the question. I don't think that it's a helpful question to ask because it pushes God away, or it puts blame where blame shouldn't be placed, and it blocks the movement forward. And so what I gently try and guide them towards is, it's not why is God doing this to you, it's what meaning can I find in what's happening to me? Not why is this happening, but what am I able to learn? How can I move forward with this? Sometimes people dedicate their lives after they've survived an illness to helping others. Sometimes it gives them a new strength to face other challenges in their lives. But what I try and do is help them find the right question, and also to pair them up with people who have had a similar experience. And again, it's that sense of community. You're not the only person who has struggled in this way or asked these questions. Let me connect you with somebody else, and they can help.
And so life is gift, every
Yes.
breath we take.
Yeah.
We've enjoyed spending time with you so much, Paul. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Sure.